As with boxing, when it's at the elite stage, you can't play games
without necessarily striving to win. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I told you. It's WWE. Okay? This is WWE, like I told you.
It's crazy for multiple reasons. One, they have a huge size difference. Tank Davis, he's a lightweight, normally fights at 135 pounds. And Jake Paul, he's a cruiserweight, usually fights at 200 pounds.
Floyd Mayweather confronts Jake Paul regarding the no-knockout rule in his upcoming fight with Gervonta Davis. Floyd argues that Jake is more focused on turning the fight into a spectacle to sell the event rather than on actual competition. Mayweather feels the fight lacks seriousness but acknowledges that both fighters understand what they're getting into. He insists that boxing should be about skill and competition, not staged rules that reduce it to a show. Wade Plemons posted on X, saying, "We all knew this would be an exhibition, but the Florida State Athletic Commission saying they'll display skill without aiming for full contact strikes probably isn't the best way to sell it, lol." Known for his blunt takes, Plemons critiques the commission for diminishing the fight's intensity by emphasizing that it won't be about full contact action. He argues that for fans who expect a real boxing match, this framing undermines the excitement. Floyd Mayweather, always a master of competition, is believed to be eyeing a fight with Mike Tyson, not just for money but for pride in positioning. Analysts believe he's setting up the fight to ensure the world's attention returns to him, with his match overshadowing the spectacle of Jake Paul versus Tank Davis. This is typical Mayweather strategy: stay relevant, control the headlines, and prove his name still carries unparalleled weight in boxing culture.
Now that there's so many celebrities and so many people that are known, where you can get somebody and they can sell tickets to events, that's what kicked off the social media influence boxing that Jake Paul was birthed from. Now we're in a vacuum. And so there's going to be a lot of conversation about that and continuing to do that. In this particular video, though, I want to get into the mind of Floyd Mayweather Jr. and why Floyd Mayweather Jr. would do this. There is the money, but there's also the competitive nature of Floyd Mayweather Jr. and him not wanting to have other people think that they're a bigger star than he is. Floyd Mayweather Jr. has not been able to really launch his star outside of the sport of boxing, so he continues to do exhibitions. Now, what I think is that Floyd Mayweather Jr. is announced it at this point in time with Mike Tyson in order to take advantage of the publicity heading into the Gervonta Davis, Jake Paul fight, which is, I do believe, set for November. So now that they have all the publicity and all that stuff coming out from that, he's going to piggyback on it and then try to have it in the beginning of next year sometime and actually make it a bigger event than Gervonta versus Jake Paul. And it probably will be. And the reason that I say that is because of Mike Tyson.
At the core of the issue is legacy. Mayweather, retired and undefeated, has nothing to lose in these exhibitions. For him, it's all about financial gain and reputation. Jake Paul, still carving his path in boxing, uses these events to build his name. But for Gervonta Davis, the decision is more complex. Every fight at this stage impacts his career trajectory. If Davis continues prioritizing entertainment over real competition, he risks alienating boxing purists who want to see him face legitimate contenders. The question becomes, is short-term fame worth the potential long-term consequences?
Whether what is going to happen in that fight is basically the same thing as what's happening to Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford, except for that is a live action fight that is a real competitive fight, but the marketing of it is the same thing. And the fact that somebody is going to pay for it is more likely with Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Mike Tyson than it is with even Jake Paul and Gervonta. But I think that it really is an attempt to compete with Gervonta Davis by setting up a bigger fight than Gervonta Davis is having. And now I'm going to tell you something else too. I would not put it past these people.
The Tank versus Jake Paul fight could have been the talk of the town, but Floyd's latest move ensures the boxing world can't ignore him. For decades, Mayweather has perfected the art of staying in the spotlight, even if it meant bending traditional boxing rules. His latest move against Mike Tyson cements him as the main attraction again. The sheer nostalgia of Tyson's name combined with Floyd's undefeated legacy makes the match far more marketable than Jake Paul vs. Tank Davis. The controversy around the Jake Paul vs. Gervonta Davis fight lies in the fact that it's not sanctioned as an official boxing contest. With the commission refusing to approve it as a professional bout, it's been reduced to an exhibition, more about entertainment than legitimate competition. Critics argue this brings the fight closer to WWE-style spectacle, where victory isn't the goal, it's all about the show. While it might generate short-term buzz, it weakens the authenticity of boxing in the eyes of purists.
Will face Gervonta Davis in an exhibition match. Quote, "You can't do a fight like that as a pro fight," Shipman said. It'll be an exhibition fight, end quote. Similarly to the concerning location move, he states that the main reason for this is the significant weight disparity between the two opponents. An exhibition is defined by Florida statutes as a boxing, kickboxing, or mixed martial arts engagement in which persons participating show or display their skills without necessarily striving to win, using strikes, elbows, blah, blah, blah. So, the key word here is, key phrase, show or display their skills without necessarily striving to win. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I told you. It's WWE. Okay? This is WWE, like I told you. These are setup fights. These are rigged fights. I know Jake Paul gets upset when people say he ain't a real fighter and all that stuff, but I think the Mike Tyson fight pretty much showed everybody that, Mike was pulling back on his punches, and it just was weird to me. You know what I'm saying? Now you got Gervonta Tank Davis getting ready to sell his soul to go up in here and move around the ring with Jake Paul. I don't know what's going to happen on this. I don't know, but regardless of the fact, the fight is going to do well because it's going to be on Netflix. So everybody got Netflix, so everybody's going to watch the fight. So it's going to be like a wrestling event, basically, a fake scripted fight.
Former world champion Paulie Malignaggi has been vocal about his frustration with the Jake vs. Tank matchup. He believes knockouts only have value when they come against real, evenly matched opponents. In his view, manufactured events like this cheapen the sport. Malignaggi argues that Jake Paul doesn't deserve the credibility he's getting from these spectacle-driven fights. When debating Chris Algieri, he pointed out that casual fans might enjoy the show, but true boxing fans understand this matchup lacks the integrity of a real championship fight. One major issue with this fight is the significant weight disparity between the two. The Florida Commission made it clear that such a difference creates unfair conditions and poses safety risks. As a result, they only approved it as a sparring session, not a sanctioned fight. This shows the structural limits of boxing as a sport. Entertainment can only go so far before regulations step in.
Paulie, knockouts, dude. Knockouts. People like knockouts. They don't care if you're knocking out cab drivers. Look at Jake Paul's career.
You can manufacture that though. You can manufacture that though. You can manufacture.
You can't manufacture.
To a
Gervonta
degree,
Davis.
you can. To a degree. I mean, you can't. Yeah, Gervonta legitimately cannot get knockouts. I agree. He can punch, but there's a lot of limited knockout artists though, man.
He's one of the least active punchers in the game with the highest knockout percentage of current heavyweight.
But if he was a real knockout artist, if he was a real knockout artist, prop him up against the best of the best. Felix Trinidad was a knockout artist. He was knocking out the best of the best. If you're a real knockout artist, prop him up against the best and show us how he smokes them. But the way we did when Felix Trinidad was doing it. You know, the way they did when Mike Tyson was doing it in his prime. Okay, say what you want about the Mike Tyson era. He knocked out everyone from 1986 to 1989. Everyone got knocked out. Everyone.
Well, by your standard, you could say that Tyson was to a degree manufactured.
No,
and
because
Teddy
he
Atlas
fought everyone that was there. Everyone that was there at that time fought.
Teddy Ellis will 100% agree with this
with the expense
he would say
of
the guys
Witherspoon.
that we're afraid of
With
him.
the exception of Witherspoon. No, but they all, doesn't matter. He knocked them all out. There was nobody you could say in that era except maybe Witherspoon, who had contract issues with King at the time. Oh, except for Witherspoon, there is nobody Tyson didn't fight in that era. He knocked them all out. You can't say like, oh, but if he would have fought that guy, I don't know. No, with Davis, there's guys right now that have been hanging around for years. Yo, dude, when you gonna fight them? The lightweight division was stacked with talent. Even at 130, it had a lot of talent when he was there. Didn't fight almost any of them. So it's not the same thing as the Tyson era. You want to say anything about Tyson era? Fine. It wasn't as high level or something. He still knocked out everyone. There was nobody there in that era that you can say Tyson didn't fight.
Didn't say it was related. It was the same as the Tyson era. Didn't say it at all. I was actually going to say the opposite when you talk about Trinidad. Trinidad is a bona fide superstar. And the way that he was, and like you said, he
stepped
fought
him
everybody.
up and he knocked out.
And he was a knockout punches. No, of course. So that's a different thing. So is Sugar Ray Leonard. Now, you also have to compare it to your contemporaries. Nobody is selling, dude. Nobody is selling. No one sells tickets. No one has a following these days. There's very few fighters who actually sell tickets.
There's a push, bro. I was at
Canelo
Showtime.
Alvarez.
I was at Showtime.
Canelo
There's
Alvarez.
a push, bro. But Champ, I don't want to keep cutting you off, but I got to because
they
here's
all
the thing.
Push.
There's
work,
a push for certain people. I remember being at Showtime and even watching on HBO on TV. They're mentioning Saul Alvarez, who I didn't even know his name was Canelo at the time, as a possible Mayweather opponent. When they were talking about possible Mayweather opponents, I'm like, I knew who the rest of the guys on the list were. Who the hell is this guy? Who's Saul Alvarez? That he's going on, that you're putting him in a list with all these other guys that you were bona fide champions and high-level fighters.
Broadcaster Adib Oladipo offered a different perspective, arguing that staging a fight like this while both Davis and Paul are still in their prime is a mistake. Exhibitions work best when fighters are past their peak years, like Mayweather versus Logan Paul. Oladipo believes using prime years for sideshow events risks distracting fighters from matches that could define their legacies. For him, it's about timing. These prime years are irreplaceable, and using them for spectacle could harm their long-term reputations.
Whether you agree with it or not, Gervonta is considered the #1 lightweight in the world. And it's a division that includes Shakur Stevenson, a lot of young guns coming up. I'm not any more sure if it's going to include Keyshawn Davis, but it's a hot division. He's considered #1 in that division. Like, that's why I kind of find this a bit, I don't know. Like, there are challenges out there for Gervonta. There are big money fights out there for Gervonta. We want to see Gervonta in those fights. Again, I don't know how many fights people want to see AJ in, just to make the AJ Jake Paul comparison. One, as far as I'm concerned, that was Tyson Fury. I don't really have any interest in seeing an AJ in any other more fights. Whereas Gervonta Davis, I wanted and still do want to see him in so many more fights. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. These exhibition things are, like, really and truly, they should all be when your career's done. Like, when you think of Floyd versus Logan Paul, it's done, right? Floyd versus Conor. Did he have one more after? Was that it? I can't even remember. But it was right at the end. It was done. Right at the end. Even if it wasn't. Right at the end. These guys having these exhibition fights in between what is the peak of their career is kind of weird for me. Very, very weird. And then it isn't even comparable to Ngannou Fury, because at least these guys were the same size. Like, Jake Paul is a 215, 220 pound guy. I don't know what he walks around at. Gervonta fights at 135. I'm guessing he walks around about 155.
Reports revealed that Gervonta Davis canceled his planned rematch with Lamont Roach to pursue the Jake Paul fight. This raised eyebrows because it shows how spectacle is starting to take precedence over real sporting rivalries. Roach represented a competitive challenge that could have advanced Tank's career in the traditional sense. Instead, Davis opted for the higher-paying but less meaningful option. This growing trend of prioritizing money over legacy is concerning to critics, who fear it sets a dangerous precedent for future fighters. What's particularly fascinating about Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis is the clash of attributes. Jake has a natural size and power advantage, while Davis brings elite skills, speed, and experience at the highest level. This dynamic creates an unpredictable fight. Can skill overcome size, or will raw power overwhelm technical mastery? Such contrasts are rare in traditional boxing because weight classes prevent them. By breaking that barrier, this fight injects both danger and intrigue, keeping audiences hooked despite its unofficial status.
So breaking news, Jake Paul will be taking on Tank Davis in an exhibition on November 15th in Atlanta, Georgia, live on Netflix. And this is crazy for multiple reasons. One, they have a huge size difference. Tank Davis, he's a lightweight, normally fights at 135 pounds. And Jake Paul, he's a cruiserweight, usually fights at 200 pounds. So there's a good 60 to 65 pound difference here. It could also mean that Tank Davis is no longer interested in competing for titles anymore and is cashing out of boxing. You know, there's been a lot of talks that Tank is nearing retirement this year, and he was supposed to rematch Lamont Roach after their first fight went to a draw. But instead of chasing the Roach rematch, instead he takes the Jake Paul fight for money. So maybe this is Tank's last, or one of his last fights. And same for Jake Paul. He just got ranked number 14 at cruiserweight after beating Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So he's supposed to be fighting other ranked contenders or top guys at cruiserweight. But instead, he's taking a money fight. But I do expect these two to go after each other. Even though it is an exhibition, I don't think it'll just be some boring sparring match. I do think they'll try a decent amount. But Tank, obviously, is a lot more skilled. Jake, he has a lot more size. But you guys let me know who you got.
Former heavyweight Eddie Chambers joined the debate with an important reminder: underestimating Gervonta Davis would be a mistake. While Jake Paul's size advantage is clear, Chambers emphasized that Davis has skills far beyond Jake's level. A smaller fighter with superior technique can still dismantle a larger opponent, especially one without the same technical refinement. Chambers reframes the fight from a potential mismatch to a test of whether Jake can handle elite boxing intelligence. His message is simple: size matters, but skill often matters more.
That something like this can happen, but this is social media, this is what it's created. There's a lane that Jake Paul has created. Honestly, I'm not mad at him for it. He's gotten a lot of fighters and, you know, actual fighters some shine. It also has done for women's boxing a lot. So I'm not mad at him for what he's been in boxing, what he's created. This is a little crazy right here. This is a little crazy. And a lot of people will say, Tank is too small. Let me tell you something. Anybody that gets in the ring with Tank that is not a damn dinosaur is going to feel something from it. And it ain't going to be easy to hit it. Got boxing IQ. He may not sound like an intellectual guy when you hear him talk, but he knows the ring inside and out.
What stands out most is how well exhibitions function as business ventures. Mayweather has already proven the model: take fighters from different eras or backgrounds, market it as an event, and cash in on the spectacle. Jake Paul has followed this blueprint effectively, and now Tank Davis risks stepping into the same territory. The promotional machine behind these events thrives on controversy, debate, and social media hype. Whether people love or hate the matchup, the one guaranteed outcome is attention, and that attention directly translates into pay-per-view sales.
Aside from make it extremely ugly by grabbing him and probably trying to throw him to the ground, I don't know what else, bite him, I don't know, but I mean, the skill level alone, now of course, there is a size difference, a height difference and all that, but he's just going to struggle so much landing a shot. You know, it's just going to look bad. To me, this is the way I see it. It's going to look bad. Tank is going to be too fast. And the punch, I believe, I'm not saying it's going to knock him out or, you know, but he's going to feel it.
Are you surprised at the backlash that Tank is getting?
No, yeah. What is going on with why they mad at the fighters for this?
That's all for today's video. Stay tuned for more updates.